I can.
Okay, yay.
Okay, good. You're there. It worked.
Yay. Okay.
Sorry about the technical difficulties. You never know. My gosh.
Yes.
Okay, we're back. So, when you were talking about dosages with iodine, you got me like interested in like dosaging, and you said earlier at the beginning that taking 7 milligrams a day was ideal. That's what our bodies need to function
That's what your
well.
thyroid needs. That's not in your other glandulars too, because like iodine's like used for glandular support. So not just your thyroid isn't your only gland. You also have your breast tissue. Men have their prostate, women have their like uterus and all these other things as well. So iodine is very, very important for hormonal health and glandular health. It basically helps to set up the health of your glandulars. So if you are deficient, you're going to get glandular issues like PCOS and endometriosis, and like thyroid disease is not the only symptom of iodine deficiency. Like these are all like breast cancer, prostate cancer, all these things are symptoms of deficiency of iodine. So, and it really annoys me that so many people ignore that, and they are like, they're coaches of things like women's health, but they ignore thyroid, or they ignore iodine altogether. I've never seen a coach that is large or big or that has a large following that even so much as mentions iodine, but they talk about endometriosis and PCOS, but nobody talks about iodine. Or if they do, they're like, oh, only have 150 milligrams, but your uterus and basically your like uterus and your all I don't even know why. Your ovaries. Why am I struggling? Your ovaries and your uterus. Yes, that alone needs like 2 milligrams a day. So if you're not. So between that and then your breast tissue needs 5. Between 5.
Wow.
I think like if you do not have an iodine deficiency, your I believe thyroid or your body alone can store 50 milligrams of iodine in your body. So you can't really take that much more. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily take 50 milligrams a day unless you know what you're doing. But you definitely need enough just to function on a daily basis is at least 12. And if you're trying to detox, you're going to want to take more than that. However, it's not just something that you want to just start taking. Like you have to make sure you know what you're doing first before you start taking 50 to 100 milligrams of iodine without any kind of guidance, so to speak. But just for daily function, with everything going on, I would say like 12-ish milligrams is what most people can tolerate. And that's what most people in Japan take because they eat a lot of like sea vegetables. They're typically getting about 12 to 13 milligrams of iodine per day, and they have the lowest incidences of breast cancer and uterus cancer and all those different types of glandular cancers in the world. And it's very likely due to the amount of iodine that they take.
Right. I've seen those same studies. Everyone is like, why don't these people get sick? Why are they all skinny? Why do they live so long? That is a great connection. They always say it's because of their diet, but what specifically about their diet is doing this? And I actually wanted to point that out, that some natural sources of iodine are sea vegetables such as dulse, kelp, bladderwrack, Hawaiian spirulina, and just your basic leafy greens like arugula, spinach, romaine, red leaf, and butter lettuce.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those things, a lot of us aren't used to eating and might not even know what they are. We probably need to look them up, but you know, that is something that I suggest, you know, educate yourself on what these sea vegetables are so that you can start putting those in your diet. And for now, definitely eat like a mixed salad once a day at least. I like to have 2 salads a day personally because I just think they're amazing. But like I was sharing with you the other day, I've been doing the heavy metal detox smoothie, and one of the ingredients is the Atlantic Dulce flakes, and it has 330 milligrams of iodine in 1 tablespoon. But the ingredient, the recipes are, it kind of makes like more than I could drink in one day. Like it's like a mason jar and a half when you just follow the recipe. And so I'm definitely not consuming that. Like that one smoothie will last me 2 days. But that is how I'm personally getting my iodine right now. I do have a dropper that I got from Dr. Newsom called Super Fulvic Iodine. He swears in fulvic acid because it makes it more bioavailable, which is awesome. Like we need bioavailability. So that's one of the huge things that I want you to speak about is the quality of iodine.
Yes, there's so many. Well, first of all, you have to make sure that you're getting your kelp or your dulse from a good area, because you don't, when you're getting things from the ocean, because it's so toxic, and not toxic in a bad way, but there are things like chloride and bromide and fluoride in the ocean water as well. And what happens is that again pushes the iodine out or makes it not quite as powerful. Or when you're eating it, you're not necessarily getting the iodine, you could be absorbing the bromide or the fluoride or whatever it is. So not to discredit kelp, because it is great, but just make sure you're getting it from a clean area, like preferably something not grown in the ocean, under like controlled, in a controlled kind of area, so to speak. And yes, and I have heard that, I actually have heard that Hawaiian is probably the best. I can't remember why, but I have heard that Hawaiian is the most ideal, especially for stuff like that. But then also you want to make sure that you, like you were saying, you want to get either a fulvic or an elemental version, because from my understanding, potassium iodide is great, but the elemental version of it is what actually detoxes the heavy metals and other things.
What's the difference? Do you know?
So it's like the difference. So elemental would be like iodine in its pure form. It's almost like the difference between like artificial B12 and methyl B12. So it's going to be higher absorbed, easier to utilize, all that kind of stuff.
Got it.
Lugal's formula is what they've been using since the 1800s. It's what the magic of iodine was. That's what they used iodine for pretty much everything. That was what they used during the Hippocrates era, as far as I know. And then I've also heard of people having good success with nascent iodine, although I don't quite remember off the top of my head what the difference is, as far as I know. But when you're looking online, a lot of what you'll find is mostly nascent iodine, which is a form of potassium iodide. I believe it's in an alcohol base, which anything that's in an alcohol base is going to absorb a lot better, because your alcohol gets absorbed in your mouth through your tongue, and it gets absorbed at 100%. And that's why they use it for herbs and stuff like that, because you're going to absorb 100% of the herb, and get 100% of the benefits, and it'll absorb a lot better. So I think that's mostly why people use nascent iodine, because it will absorb at 100% in a potassium iodide form. And then what happens is it goes through an oxidation in your thyroid, and then that can create, it has to go through an oxidation in your thyroid, and then that is what creates iodine, which is what your thyroid uses to create thyroid hormones. So it's like this diffusion sort of, if you want to go into like physiology, but that's confusing, so we can skip that part.
Let's keep it basic. But the other thing that you told me about the other day that I found so fascinating that no one talks about is how we were going back to the topical iodine that they use in like hospitals. You were saying for breast cancer and prostate cancer, where people are rubbing it on those areas. Is that what you were saying the other day?
Yeah, so that's how I've heard of a lot of people that have used it. So if you have it's like anything that you put on your skin will get absorbed. And there are people that actually like, I don't know, I don't think it's like that a really good indication of whether you are deficient in iodine, but I have heard of people that rub iodine on their body, anywhere on their body, and it will turn your skin yellow, like a yellowish color. And then depending on how fast it disappears, so it can disappear within 24 hours, it can disappear within an hour, that can give you an indication of how deficient you are. However, I don't think that that's necessarily the best way to measure whether you're deficient or not. You're going to want, the best way to test if you're deficient is to do an 24-hour iodine loading test, which is basically you take 50 milligrams of iodine and then collect your urine over 24 hours. And depending on how much your body is releasing of that will depend on how deficient you are. And you can order that through any lab.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, so if someone is interested in doing this, what are the steps they need to do in order to do a test like that?
So you can go online, and I think like, I don't even know the exact location that you can get your own labs. I think it's like, there's a few websites out there. You can just Google like order like your own labs and in the US, and they'll get like a few websites. Like one I think is directlab.com or something like that. And you basically order your own lab test, and then you take the test, you'll get a lab sheet, you go to the lab, they'll send you the results, and then you can order your own iodine loading test, and it'll give you directions on what to do. And then it should give you like on any lab sheet that you get or any results that you get, it should give you like a general normal range, so to speak.
Yeah.
But basically, if your body's holding on to a lot of iodine, if you take say 50 milligrams and you're finding that you're only urinating out like 5, you're probably pretty deficient. So because your body's holding on to all of that because it needs it. But if you're urinating out 50 milligrams, then you're probably pretty safe. Like you're not probably deficient. However, most people, I think Dr. Brownstein had noticed, he's tested over 6,000 people and 97% of them were deficient. Like severely deficient, not like a little bit. They were severely deficient.
Yeah. Yeah, like super symptomatic deficient. Yeah.
Yes.
So just to say that the name of the test again, it was iodine. Are you saying loading? LOADING?
Yeah.
Loading. Yep. Iodine loading test.
Urine loading test. 24-hour iodine urine loading test. It's something like that. It's all of those words in a different order. Just not sure what.
Okay. But if you put that in, you should find it. And then for people that have never done this before, should they order some of the iodine before, or do the directions tell them like, take this type of iodine at this dosage at this time? Like it's very specific. It walks them through it.
Well, the iodine loading test is only going to tell them if they're deficient. It's not going to tell them what to take or what, and that's why it's so important to work with someone that knows what they're doing when it comes to iodine. And also, you don't want to just take iodine anyways. Like even if you are deficient, yes, you can test to see if you're deficient, but if you're deficient in iodine, you're likely deficient in other minerals too. Yeah. And it's really, really, really important to figure out what those are before you just shoot in the dark, especially with minerals. Like I cannot stress enough how important it is to get some kind of like HTMA test or something to figure out what your deficiencies are before you just take it. Because if you take too much iodine at first and you detox too quickly and your other minerals are a mess, that can just create more issues, and that will take even longer to recover from. So like personally, it's really important to get a practitioner that knows what they're doing and to work with someone that can help figure out what your deficiencies are before you even consider taking iodine, because it can crash your other minerals, especially when you start detoxing, because it clates to so many things like mercury and all these other things. So you don't want to just take it and then find out that your calcium is crashed and then your magnesium is crashed, and that if you take too much, it's just like, it's very, very, very intricate, and minerals have a very delicate balance. So you don't want to just take any single nutrient without testing first.
Yeah.
And
So
there's protocols too that you can take before you just start taking iodine, like salt loading. You can start making sure your adrenals are okay first. Like, there's so many steps to it that you don't want to just start taking anything.
okay. So you could look up functional medicine doctors or alternative practitioners in your town, and you can call and say, hey, I'm interested in doing, you know, figuring out if I'm deficient in iodine, if this is affecting my hypothyroidism, my hyperthyroidism, or my Hashimoto's. You know, are you familiar with this? Do you have experience with this?
Yeah.
And then you said another test really fast that I wanted to touch on. You said HTMA test.
Yes. Hair
What is
tissue
that?
mineral analysis test.
Hair
Which
tissue
basically,
mineral analysis. Okay.
yes. So, and that basically will just show you what your mineral balance is in your tissue stores. So many practitioners and most doctors, even naturopathic and functional medicine doctors, will typically test your mineral balance through your blood testing, which is not an accurate measurement of minerals. You have to make sure, because what happens is, like, your blood has to stay homeostatic. It has to maintain a certain level of balance. So, and I'm just going to use calcium as an example. So calcium is a regulator of pH. So when you're going to do to see how much calcium you have in your body, taking it from your blood will not say if you're deficient, but and this is true with anyone that has osteoporosis, will know that to check your calcium levels, you're going to check your bone density, because your bones are like, most of your calcium is in your bones. So, if most of your calcium is in your bones and your pH balance drops even slightly, you could die, or your body will basically pull that calcium from your bones just to make sure that it stays at a certain level. And that's true with any mineral and any heavy metal that's coursing through your bloodstream. If it gets too high, your body will push that into your tissues just as a storage place for it, because it can't stay in your blood. So to check your blood testing for potassium or sodium that has to stay at a certain level, it just doesn't make sense. Why it will always say that you're not, unless you're so deficient, and at that point it's almost dangerous and you'll probably be close to dying. So you have to check your mineral stores, and that's why hair testing has been one of the most effective and most it's just been a very very effective way of testing your tissue stores for not only toxic metals, but also what your tissue stores of all your minerals, except for iodine, unfortunately, but all of your minerals are. And that's super important when it comes to any kind of mineral balancing at first. Because minerals also have a relationship to each other. Like, you can't just take, like, I'm going to use calcium and magnesium as an example again, because your bones are not just calcium. It's a very, very delicate balance of calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, all these different minerals. Like, it's a very intricate process. Even sodium and potassium, they have a very intricate balance, and they affect so much. So if you just take sodium, that's why a lot of people have heart issues, because they have so much sodium, but they're not getting enough potassium, and that can create like high blood pressure, and it can create edema and electrolyte imbalances and all these other issues. So just taking one can throw off the other. So you have to make sure with any mineral that you're looking at the relationship that they have to each other, and then also supplementing accordingly.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But, you know, I also love that you pointed out that there's testing through hair. You know, the mainstream doctors, they just use blood for everything. And a lot of people don't realize that there are so many different ways, better ways of testing, like you said, with urine, with stool, and with hair in order to get a full picture of what your body is doing and what's going on inside of there. The blood, although it is, indicators of things, I look at it as just like a temporary snapshot and of just like what's happening, because everything's changing so much. And like you said, it's just homeostatic, and it's just like always moving and replacing and doing what it's got to do to stay in homeostasis. And let's see, I'm just looking through my notes real fast to see if there's anything else that I wanted to point out. Oh, I wrote this list that just like blew me away. So here are some common signs of iodine deficiency. And it's huge. So unhealthy fingernails, chronic UTIs, chronic sinus infections, if you catch cold or flus easily, cold sores, canker sores, chronic cough, hemorrhoids, ingrown toenail swelling, nail and fingernail fungus or cuts and scratches that get infected, acne, H. pylori infection, ulcers, boils, bronchitis, laryngitis, tonsillitis. Did I already say pneumonia? And I think that's it. But I mean, wow.
Yes,
I'm
and
sure a lot of
thyroid
people.
issues, thyroid cancer, PCOS, endometriosis. Like, there's so many. Like, the one thing I didn't say though, like iodine actually helps regulate your estrogen levels. So if you have xenoestrogens and other bad estrogens, especially people who are on the pill, it can affect your estrogen levels, but iodine can help get rid of and regulate your estrogen level so that you don't become estrogen dominant and then mess up your other hormones as well. So like also another symptom of thyroid or iodine deficiency is heart disease and heart issues like heart arrhythmia. You can also get I've also heard of people, so like a lot of uterine, breast, prostate cancer, PCOS, endometriosis. There's so many things that iodine. It's like if you really think about it, your body needs hormones to function correctly. So if you're not getting enough, every single cell in your body will be affected by it. Every single one of them. And I love myself some CBD. I think it's great, but I also think that if you have an underlying issue, CBD will only help so much, but it's not going to fix the deficiency. It will help. It's an amazing product. It will help. And it is all the rage. Don't get me wrong. Like, I do love CBD and what it does for people, but at the end of the day, it's not going to fix your nutritional deficiencies. And that is the true healer of everything. If you're not deficient in anything, you're not going to need anything. Like, your body will function perfectly.
Exactly. Hemp and CBD has been like a huge blessing as far as treating symptoms and stress and anxiety and bipolar, ADHD. Like, it's helped so much, but I agree, it's just another way of masking what's going on. You really need to get down to the root, like it's back to that word, that root cause. There's always a root cause. And I think you and I agree 100% that with this insanely toxic world, our water's toxic, our air is toxic, our food is toxic. Our clothes are sprayed with fungicides, our mattresses, our couches, the plug-in Glade, my post I went up on the other day, I mean, we're surrounded by toxins, but does that mean that we have to freak out and put ourselves in a bubble? No. It just means do your testing, address the deficiencies, and supplement where you need to. And then your body will also naturally detox, and oops, I had a low battery. And then you'll be feeling better. So, well, we should probably wrap it up right there so my phone doesn't die on us.
That was an amazing chat. I'm super excited to talk about iodine. Like, anytime we get the chance, it's just such a miracle mineral that it's been such a good thing for so many people that and nobody talks about it. Like it's like this
No.
hidden controversial thing that no one talks about, and it's really, really, really important, and it's potentially one of those things that can really help people if they are open-minded enough to really
Yeah.
look beyond what anyone is saying. Like it's okay to question things. Like it's okay to question if even a doctor said it. I question doctors all the time. So
Yeah, me
it's
too.
okay to do that. Like if it doesn't make sense, trust your gut and do your own research.
Absolutely. Well, you are amazing. You are so smart, and I see your calling coming out. You know, I think you need to be an iodine expert and go fix the world one person at a time with iodine, because we need it.
Yes.
So I know that in the future you're going to be offering some testing as services as a coach. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm going to, starting I think in a few weeks, I should have everything set up to do HTMA testing, and then I'm super excited. It's definitely been life-changing. HTMA is one of the most important tests that you can get. It's worth every single penny, especially when it comes to thyroid health. It definitely addresses the thyroid adrenal axis. And I've had testing done for like my 4-point saliva testing, and nothing has shown me how accurate this test is than HTMA, and
Wow.
it's mind-blowing. I wish everybody was required to get one, because it will change your life for sure.
Wow. I know. I can't wait to do mine with you. That's going to be so fun. I'm such a geek with this stuff too. I'm like, yes, let's test me. Let's test everything and see what my body's doing, please.
Yes, yes.
All right, cool. Well, you guys heard that. She's going to be doing the testing here in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested, you could DM her directly. And I'm going to let you go now. Thank you for coming on.
Anytime. See you later,
I'll
Sarah.
talk to you soon. Okay, bye.